This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
So on the show today, we have a exceptional guest. Imagine, if you will, you weigh 100 pounds heavier. You are saddled with debt, and you have like no net worth. And you're like, man, what am I going to do? Well, that's where you were a number of years ago, right, Matt?
Yeah, that's right, man.
So tell us exactly where you were. Like, I think, what is it? You paid off like $550,000 in 4 years?
Yeah, so our journey really started at like 2012, so 13 years ago. And it was 300 pounds, alcoholic, addictive sports gambler, smoking a pack or two of cigarettes a day, almost divorced, and didn't know I had, but was straddled with, $500,000 worth of debt.
How did you not know that you had $500,000 in debt?
We were just living this yo-yo lifestyle. And so like when we, got money, we bought things and we could afford the payments, and we just didn't have a relationship with money, just like I didn't have a relationship with food, barely had a relationship with my spouse. And so when you stack all of that together, and we were just kind of caught in the life transaction treadmill, if you would say, like there was no one in my world showing me or walking me through like, this is how you need to do it.
Mm-hmm. So you had just accumulated over time $550,000 in like consumer debt.
Yeah, and so and some mortgage debt, and so and as I walk agents and clients and people that are in my inner circle through entrepreneurs, like the financial transformation or creating any transformation, that first step is awareness.
Yeah, and
I just never had an awareness moment until 2012.
2012. And so what happened in 2012 where you're like, whoa, something needs to change?
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple different rock bottom moments in that season. I mean, again, I was just, as fast as I could make money, it was going back out. And my first rock bottom moment was actually during marriage counseling. And, I was asked a very specific question, from our counselor, and it's like, I've heard you the last 35, 40 minutes. I've just got one question. Could you go 90 days without a drink? And
interesting.
Yeah. And I didn't go there because of a drinking problem. I just went there because my wife and I were having tension and toxicity in our relationship.
Understandably so, with all the debt.
Yeah.
And everything.
It was, we just didn't, I thought it was all her, and I didn't realize that it was, the person in the mirror. Right. And so, after a quick conversation, I said, I just don't know if that will actually change things. And he said, and the moment that I had was, he said, I don't know if you're going to do it, but I will tell you that you have 12 months or you're dead, divorced, in jail, or broke.
Really?
And at that moment, I'm like, I get something. I had to start looking internal than external.
Mm-hmm. So you're like, okay, I don't know if stopping drinking for 90 days is going to change something, but I don't like what is going to happen in 12 months.
Yeah.
So then was that the first step? You stopped drinking?
Well, and so it wasn't. So that was my first look at something, what I call through the board, not at the board. And I didn't know it then. However, the very first thing that I knew I could do was I could affect what I put into my mouth. I could get up off the couch. So I actually started with a weight transformation.
Okay. And
I saw the pounds start coming down on the scale and started compounding some wins, right? 300, 296, 293, 289, on a weekly basis. So those wins encouraged me to not drink as much.
Because you wanted to lose more weight.
I wanted to lose more weight. So I just started, when I found the fork in the road, it was like, do I eat this or do I eat that? I turned it into, do I drink this or drink that? Mm-hmm. And everything was focused on the weight loss. And so as I was going through this, now I'm 90 days in, I was able to not drink as much and drink different things. And eventually it got to a point where I was just tired of, throwing away days of sobriety by just having a drink.
Yeah.
It got to where I made a decision. So I had my awareness moment, I had my decision moment, and then on May 19th, I made a decision on the way home from an event that I wasn't going to drink the next day, and I haven't since.
May 19th, what year?
2012.
2012. Wow. So over a decade now.
Yeah, 12 years, 12 plus years. My wife is at a decade sober, so yeah.
So that means she started after you. So
she did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she saw the benefits and the impact on you, and then followed suit.
Yeah. So so as we went through my weight loss transformation ended up losing 100 pounds. I became sober. I quit. I broke my gambling addiction, smoking addiction. That got us exposed to entrepreneurship. We actually started getting healthier together. So
fun.
I started losing weight. She got into health and fitness. She actually got into bikini bodybuilding.
Oh, wow.
And so
that stuff's no joke.
That is no joke. And so part of that process, obviously, you don't really drink or drink very, very little. And so she started seeing that how much better she felt by not having any alcohol. And so, I can't remember if it was 13 or 14. I think it was 14. I think this was 10 years this year in August that she was like, I just don't need it anymore.
Wow. That's so cool that you guys get to do that together, because sometimes it's one person or the other.
Yeah.
And that can be hard. Man, that's so freaking cool. So you paid off in 4 years over $500,000 in debt, lost a bunch of weight, and it sounds like you also improved your relationship with your wife. Are you guys still in marriage counseling, or?
No, we're not.
No?
Although we have some intense fellowship conversations now, they just don't necessarily have a counselor sitting in front of us, right?
Yeah.
And so those rock bottom moments, right? You have the one sitting on the counselor's couch, and then almost 2 years later, we had the second one, which was my wife and I sitting on our own couch, and it was around money. And so we just didn't have any. And we had made all this money in 2012 and 2013 with our different businesses and, our jobs and our businesses. And I'm like, why are we, for the second year in a row, we had to hit my 401k and take a loan out in 2012. And then we took out a 401k loan of hers in 2013 just to make it these next 90 days. And I'm like, why do we have to keep repeating this cycle? And that's when I had my awareness moment of actually how much debt we were in, how much we were spending, how much we were actually making. But I had to go through all of the steps to get there.
Yeah.
And so, we had 60 to 90 days of cash. So we actually went through Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. I found a mentor who had done what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And, so when I started understanding what the Bible said around money, what entrepreneurs do with money, and how to start unpacking this, I realized it was so similar to losing 100 pounds and becoming sober and all of that stuff. I just knew that it was just math at this point.
Yep. You just got to implement the plan.
Yeah.
So what were some of those habits that you start, the healthy habits? Hey, I'm not going to drink anymore, but financially, what were some of those habits that you implemented?
So, going back to the simple habit of planning and tracking and planning your money before you spend it. And then once you spend it, tracking it to make sure that you're on plan for what you said at the beginning of the month. So the same way that people lose weight, right? You either burn more than you consume, or you consume less than you burn. One is trying to outrun your fork. The other is actually paying attention to what you eat. And so I lost weight by a caloric deficit. And so when it came to the money, I was like, okay, if we make X and we spend Y, we can take the delta and aim it at debt. And so building the habit of looking at it on a daily basis and not worshiping it or worrying over it. It's just like, hey, for 5 minutes, for 7 minutes, I need to pay attention for this. And then what am I going to do with this extra money that we have left over? And so it's just being intentional, which is the third step to the transformation, is awareness, decision, intentionality. And so through that process of just building the habit of planning our money before the month began and then tracking it on a daily basis, changed everything.
Got it.
And then it gets exciting, and then you get then you're ticked off at the debt, and then you're like, hey, if I can go make this and only live on this, then and I call that lowering the bridge or lowering the water, right? If we can delay gratification and put this suffocating feeling on your expenses, then you go raise the bridge, which is make more money. You've created this massive delta that the boat can actually go through, so that then eventually you can start aiming it at, then you can aim it at obligations, which then turns into opportunities, and that's how you build wealth.
So Valerie and I did something very, very similar. For those of you listening, Valerie's my wife. And what we ended up doing was We went through the Dave Ramsey snowball, snowball,
100%.
right? So we created a budget. We lived up. We had she had all the cash in the envelopes.
Yeah.
For the different budgets.
Dude, I
and
remember
stuff.
those days.
You did the same thing.
Yeah, back when we actually touched money.
Yeah, before the digital stuff.
Yeah.
But so we did all that, and then it was an absolute incredible feeling when all of a sudden, hey, I don't owe anybody any money anymore.
No.
But then that's a discipline that has to continue, because now you have all this extra money. It can be very easy to fall back into that trap. Did you guys ever experience that once you had the extra money, or was it still head down, going in a positive direction?
Yeah, so when we went through, baby step one, Ramsey stuff, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I was building the coaching business that exists today. I just didn't know it.
Yep.
And so as I went through and we put this massive downward pressure on lifestyle, still did the thing, still had a little bit of cake, still ate a little bit of ice cream, but it was still a lot of like chicken, brown rice, and broccolis, as a metaphor to just we just had to get through it. And then once we got to the other side, I had to figure out how to make more money, right? I was excellent at how to live on less. I was excellent at that. Had not built a skill set. I had skills, but I hadn't built it and monopolized it and monetized it on Raising the Bridge, which exposed me and got me into the world of real estate.
Oh.
And so that's how I got exposed to real estate in 2017. Was I got my license. I knew a bunch of agents. I lived in
everybody does.
Everybody does. And I was actually, my career was in the moving and storage industry, so I knew all of the players in my county that were selling all the houses, because I would help their clients move. And so as I was doing that, I was like, I should go sell real estate, right? And so, I joined a team because I didn't know how to sell real estate. I knew how to build relationships, have conversations, but I didn't know how to sell real estate. I had to know how to write a contract. And so after I figured out, and in my first 30, 60 days, had a commission check coming in, it was like 10 grand. I'm like, now what am I going to do with this 10 grand? Because I'm living on nothing. My wife's salary covers our expenses. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? So I went around our market center in Reston, Virginia, and I started asking real estate agents, what would you do with your first $10,000 check or your next $10,000 check? And I didn't hear invest in real estate, hire a coach, find a marketing, get more agents,
invest in your business. What did you hear?
I heard pay last year's taxes and next month's car note.
Yikes.
And I'm like, my new client is the real estate agent.
Because you've been there.
I've been there.
Got it. And so when we come back from the break, we're going to dive into how you help agents become financially free.
If you are thinking about selling your home, but you're feeling a little nervous, a little reluctant because you don't want to do all those much needed repairs, the cost, the time. You don't want to do showings and get your home staged and clean it and organize it. Guess what? There's a really easy option. Johnny Jennings will get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. It's not too good to be true. Just reach out to him, Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, and he'll get you at least 3 cash offers today. Just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty today and get more for your home.